Assalamu alaikum, good evening, and welcome to tonight's episode of Talking Points. I'm your host, Syed Niyaz Ahmed. At the very beginning, a very warm welcome from London. London is really hot today, 38 degrees centigrade. First of all, I must say Eid Mubarak to you because I could not meet you all last week. That was 31st of July, the Friday. That is the day we celebrated Eid in London. And secondly, I want to share it with you the good news that today, 7th of August 2020, marks the 8th anniversary of Talking Point. We have started our journey on 7th of August 2012, and Alhamdulillah, thanks for your cooperation and our wonderful team and our wonderful CEO at NTV Europe. We have achieved this great target of 8 years continuous talk show. Inshallah, we will progress from here to further landmarks. Our guest today is Mr. Enayetuddin Muhammad Kaiser Khan to be precise. He is a businessman, an entrepreneur, an industrialist, and on top of that, an intellectual. A fellow academic for me. Welcome to the show, Mr. Enayetuddin. How are you today?
Your lovely show, and also accept my Eid greetings from Dhaka, Bangladesh, though it's a very early in the morning, and it's a good evening to all the viewers and you, please.
Well, people are waking up in other countries, and it's for you to time for you to sleep. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
As an entrepreneur and an intellectual, you are in a better position to discuss our topics today, to suggest how to deal with, I would say, a minor problem that we have, that the world faces. The impact of pandemic on our lives and business, apart from some minor and major hiccups, Bangladesh, from a distance, appears to be doing well. Okay. Bangladesh appears to be doing very well. The BD economy, Bangladesh economy, is based on export of ready-made garments and manpower. They provide both the ready-made garment industry and our very honest, sincere workers overseas. They provide the much needed foreign exchange. They boost our reserves, that boosts our economy. Our guest today, as I said before, okay. Enayetuddin, Mr. Muhammad Kaiser Khan, I wanted to ask you that since we had lost the connection for a little while, I was talking about that the Bangladesh economy is based on exports of two kinds, ready-made garments and manpower. Alhamdulillah, they have been bringing the much needed foreign exchange that is good for the economy and that boosts our reserves. You have been in the business of exports, possibly not imports, and production of ready-made garments. You have been supplying to very well-known high street shops in the UK. What is the situation now in general? We can go at specific points later, but what is the situation in the garment industry right now?
Currently, of course, if we talk about 3 months back,
right,
and today, things look slightly better. Certainly, it looks much better than what used to be in 3 months back. We are slowly coping up with the situation, which looked very doomed at the very beginning, and like we had to take few bold decision to either to open the factory or not to open the factory, That was a big question mark, because COVID was very due to, I think, the whole world, and it was with a tremendous sort of uncertainty. We nobody knew what is supposed to be done, and especially third world country, we are taken by surprises, and we were forced to close down all the factories. We had to go for lockdown, and when we opened the factory 3 months back, of course there was a lot of criticism from home and from abroad that why did you open the factory? It could be fatal for the health of the workers and spreading the virus. But the situation was like that either, I mean, if we close down, I mean, we close the business forever. So we had to take a bold decision, and government also supported us to take the decision. And right now, it seems to be that our decision was quite okay. People have started taking steps how to run the factory, taking at least minimum precautions like social distancing, also using the mask, sanitary, and everything. So things are started picking up slowly, and it's getting better. But certainly we are not.
Are all the
Yeah.
factories working, or a large number of factories working? Are they into production?
Yeah, I would say it's like between 60 to 70% factories are back, not with the full capacity, because the overall demand of the ready-made garments has gone down, and entire chain system has been completely destroyed. I mean, in the sense that we are not on we are our import. Of course, we export, but our export based on import. I mean, most of the raw materials we import from China, India, many other countries.
Right.
So everything looks so uncertain, and we had to reorganize almost everything. And overall, the attack of pandemic has made the customers very nervous. Many buyers, retailers, big names, they canceled a big volume of orders, or they have also postponed many orders, and the incoming orders are also reduced by at least 30%, and there are about a huge cancellation, deferred payment, and also there will be a lot of goods which will not be paid. So under these circumstances, maybe we'll survive, but the survival will not be so easy, and the survival also not be coming for everybody. Factories has to reduce their production capacity, because we have to accommodate less and less number of workers. We have to do the social distancing, and to maintain all the safety measures, and also the order in hand with us is not sufficient to run the factory in a full-fledged. Even if you want to run the full-fledged, then the safety measure goes other way around.
Right.
So it's a very tricky situation, and we got to make adjust almost every day.
Right.
But still, the best part is that the factories are right now running. We have taken a heavy beating, and we have to take a heavy beating in future also. But at least there is a possibility that we will survive. That's the best part of it.
Yep. But is it a profitable business to manufacture ready-made garments?
It used to be. It used to be. I mean,
I
if
know
you go back.
it used to be, but is it right now in the current
No, no. If you ask me honestly, to give it one-word answer, is no. And I do not see in near future the younger generation, or once our generation gone, the new people to come into this trade in this manufacturing would be very difficult, because if you consider the risk involved against the profit and uncertainty, nobody would come to this, at least not the kind of production we are doing right now. It was a fabulous production if you go back by 5 years, but over the period of time, we started losing our competitiveness due to the raise of salary, due to the other expenditures, and also we started getting the reduced price from the customers. Overall, the price level has gone down, and the social security and everything has gone up. All the expenditures have gone up, and your income has gone down. So if you ask me in one word, whether these are a profitable business right now, no. I mean, no new entrepreneur will come with whatever you are producing today. nobody would come with the new ideas to come and start the business again. I don't think so.
Well, let me ask you one very, very serious question. What is the state, what is the condition of your workers right now? I mean, it was never very good for them anyway, because there have been reports, there have been films by foreign media houses, BBC, Al Jazeera and all that. But in the present circumstances, it seems that it may not be good at all for them.
This is actually, you see, sometimes what you see and what you hear is not what exactly it is. Because I came from my teaching, I gave up my teaching. I used to be assistant professor in 1983 in Agriculture University. And 1985, I came back from Japan. I gave up my scholarship.
Right.
I discontinued my teaching and my research and came and joined in the 1986. If you look into back to the 1986, what used to be the condition of these workers and today's is a huge difference we made.
Right.
The workers were happy.
But in 1986 you must have made a few millions. Now in 2020 you must make a few billions.
Yeah, I wish it was like that, because you see, when we started, we didn't have any experience. We were all first generation of business people. Like my father was not a businessman, not my forefather was a businessman, and overall the Bangladeshis entrepreneurs were very, very rare at that time.
Yeah.
So it was not what is today, and it's not the
but profitability
you, also like that.
You all have learned very quickly. I said hats off to you. You all have learned very quickly how to manage business.
Yes, I would agree with that. I mean, when I gave up I was giving up my job, one of my senior, he was 2 years senior to me. He was my teacher, come my friend. He was so afraid. He said, "Why are you giving up such a secure job and you're going for uncertainty?" Anyway, it is in a way, it's not me alone. The garments manufacturer did not get the appreciation in Bangladesh what they are supposed to get. We know the amount of risk we took. We know what effort we have given, and the element of risk still we are taking today. Yes, and I mean, people has to start with something. I mean, otherwise we would have never been like, the world is talking about us today. If we are not be coming into this trade, I think nobody would have even talked about us today. They would have talked only about the flood, disaster about Bangladesh. But today you look into this, you look into the big disaster going on Beirut, and Bangladesh is sending medicine, doctors, food to help them out. I mean, that's amazing things.
We have a disaster of COVID-19, and also Bangladesh is facing a disaster of floods. So it's a double whammy.
And if you look into the flood, it's now 1/3 of the Bangladesh is underwater, and still we are fighting back. We're fighting back very well.
Right.
The Bangladeshi people, to me, those people, even my hats off. I mean, they survive, they fight back, and they survive very well. It's an amazing character of the Bangladeshi people. They're very resilient. They fight back, and they fight back.
But we all people who live in urban centers, we have reserved all the fightings for our rural brothers, you see, because they are the worst sufferers of floods, you see. People living in urban areas, they do not suffer as much, see.
But that's very true. But if you go back by 20 or 30 years back, we used to suffer a little bit in the Dhaka city also. But those things, I mean, this time after many years, this level of flood was not there for at least last 10 years. We didn't see this kind of flood. I mean, if you talk about the intensity of the flood,
right?
Well, not in last 10 years, not in last 15 years,
and not twice in the same year. See, we have suffered 2 floods in 12 calendar months. Last year, and then again this year, see, and it's less than 12 months.
No, but then, I mean, what I'm talking about is that this level of intensity we haven't seen for many years in Bangladesh,
okay.
And we are quite comfortable. And whatever the localized flood we could handle, I mean, the people could handle,
right.
And they could survive very well.
Right, sir. also normal life. We had strayed into, or we had sailed into the waters, the floods, and we were talking about floods in the urban areas. Now, urban areas, I feel, and many people feel, that it is not a natural disaster. The flood in Dhaka or in other urban centers is man-made because we do not have good drainage system, and our intellectual friend will throw some light on that. Yes, sir.
Yeah. You're right. In Dhaka city, part of this thing is man-made. It is true. But there are certain statistics we should be always looking into that. Unfortunately, we are the populated, highest populated country in the world. I mean, we rank 8th.
You
And
have
if you look into the
50,000
dense,
persons, 50,000 persons per square kilometer. That is the density of Dhaka.
No, I'm talking about overall Bangladesh.
No, I'm talking about Dhaka.
Bangladesh is 8th populated country in the world by the number. It's 165 million people.
Yeah.
And it's a small area of
54,501 square miles.
Right. So that one difficulties will be always with us. Like during liberation in 1971, we are about half of the population, and we are less than the half. So this huge people to manage in Dhaka city and around Bangladesh is the biggest challenge. Will remain as always the biggest challenge. So no matter whatever we could have done better. The government could have done better, but maybe saying doing is much difficult than saying. So that is also because we could not formulate, or the government could not come up with a concrete ideas or rules, but they are trying their best. Like some of the drainage system has come up nowadays, which has now things has improved than what we used to saw about 20 years back. Like it gets water gets clogged, but it's not been flooded for it doesn't remain for 3-4 days.
Yeah,
I mean, it has rained. Maybe,
yeah, the drainage system has to be maintained and cleaned.
It's better nowadays, better because the mayors nowadays under tremendous pressure because the social media people are aware of it, so they are fighting it out. Maybe they are not fighting it out as good as it's supposed to be, but they are fighting it out, and people are aware of the situation, and you can't keep your people's mouth shut.
Right.
At least not the social media.
Right.
People would criticize. So I believe the government is trying their best, if not even.
Well, if they can't speak anywhere else, they have to speak on social media.
But what I wanted to emphasize also on the COVID, little more on that, because if you look into how people adjusted, I mean, like if you talk about this Eid, where we go for all the sacrifices, and beyond that we had 2.5 months ago another Eid. Mm-hmm. The people movement between the last Eid and this Eid has been controlled by the government. People have been aware that we cannot kept on going back to village and come back. I mean, those things has been controlled, has been taken care this time much better. Because if I look into the infection rate, we are expecting the infection rate might go a little higher, because nowadays the infection rate is around 25% in Bangladesh, and our recovery rate is around 57 to 58%, which is I would say good. And people are getting courageous. People are taking their treatment at home, and things at the moment looks slightly stable. Then,
when you say at home, you mean Bangladesh, or at home and at their residence?
No, most of the people taking their treatment at home, in the sense that they're getting their they are getting the advice from the doctors by the telephone. Right. And the hospitals at one time was totally crowded, and people didn't know what to do. But at least nowadays people knows what to do. The social media, the telemedicine, I mean, the doctors on telephone.
Right.
The whole world is opening up. There are many things you get on the internet, and the good part of Bangladesh today, irrespective of it's been a very poor country, and the people are with the mobile. Our Wi-Fi system is very strong, and our digital system.
When it is available. It is very strong whenever it is available. Because I ring up Dhaka a number of times every day, and then I'm often told that the Wi-Fi is not there, the electricity is not there, so there are power outages, network is not there. I often hear that.
No. I mean, it has so much changed today. That's what I wanted to tell you. Like, I have forgot almost to use my laptop because I'm doing everything on my phone. Okay, if there is no electricity most of the time, okay, where I live, most of the time there is electricity. If the Wi-Fi is not there, my mobile data is there, and it's not that expensive what used to be in the past. So I remain connected, and people, even from the people in the village, even they know how to use better than me. I mean, very surprisingly, people have adopted this. Those complaints of you're out of line and all these things have been is nowadays is not so much. I mean, if you visit, I hope you visit, not in this year, at least next year.
Well, I was there last year. I was there last year, and I will be hopefully there next year after this COVID thing has been sorted out.
Right.
As somebody who has been involved in the development of business and also in education, and somebody who has seen the world, you have lived in other countries, you have traveled, you have been educated abroad, you are a very fairly far-sighted person, broad-minded, with vision. How would you suggest, what do you suggest rather, what do you think that things can be improved in a long and also short term, like the drainage system in urban areas, like the education system, like you talked about health. See, we have a plethora, hundreds and hundreds of hospitals. See, and I have not yet mentioned the scandal of negative or positive certificates issued.
The false certificate, false COVID certificate,
yes,
irrespective of the I mean, one is a technical mistake, another is a manipulated mistake. I mean, they didn't do the test and they gave the result. Yes.
The certificates were there, whatever you want. See, you want positive or negative, you pay the price.
No, first of all, they didn't do the test. I mean, that's the worst part. I mean, but what I wanted to tell you, first of all, you see how I used to look, how I used to dream in my life. If you ask me, I would go back a little bit in the sense that our entire economical system, the whole world itself, I'm not very happy with that. It is so much of capitalistic thought process. The corporate world is controlling everything. I mean, few people taking away most of the good things of the world. And the world was moving too fast. Maybe COVID has come to teach us that we should take it slow, and our distribution of wealth should be much more rational. In Bangladesh, I myself is not unhappy. I believe the disproportionate income in Bangladesh is going every day up, and that has all come due to this so-called corporate. I also call them corrupt corporate culture of the whole world, and there where I can't do much. I can only express my views.
True.
I would like to see much more balanced society coming in the future. The government should think. No, the world is not for few people. It has to be for everybody. If it does not benefit the total population or the majority, then what's the use? I mean, you make few people very rich, you make beautiful bridge, you make this and you that, but if your bigger portion of your population not getting the proper health, what you wanted to be in, I understand the health sector. The health sector, I have already proposed to. Other day I had a talk show with ex-minister. I told them the health sector has to be combined with the with the private and we finish with the government. The government must also subsidize the hospital so that everybody can get an access to a minimum health service. So that has not yet come. Maybe the government has proposed many things, or maybe they are doing many things, but at the end, it's not what we are hoping. After 50 years of our independence, it should have been much better. How come in Bangladesh?
I personally, I don't blame the government, the administration. You see, the government is of the people. So it is the people who make up. They are the people are sovereign. They appoint people. They pay, from their taxes, the government employees are paid. See, they elect the people. So it is the people who should benefit. We often hear about claims like we have a wonderful health system. See, but to tell you the truth, and I am really sorry to say this, that when a high official is sick, he goes abroad. They don't trust their own medical, wonderful, quote unquote, medical system. If they don't do that, then how do you expect a bank manager who can afford to go, a bank director who can afford to go abroad will keep going out, you see. And on the contrary, we have stories coming out of hospitals. Hospitals, they are not hospitals, but in name they are hospitals. They don't have the license from the health ministry, and they are operating for the last 6-7 years. See, you know about that. I am not mentioning the names. No point in mentioning the names. Everybody knows about them.
Well, I would agree with 100%. I would say this is what, as I say, this is not what we wanted to see in our lifetime. I mean, not after 50 years of our independence. I mean,
no, I'm not happy about it. See, I want things to be better. I'm sorry for the ordinary persons who have to go to these hospitals and they suffer.
That's what I say. You also said it very correctly. It also represents how the people. But surprisingly, I'm very sorry to say that our government sector on the health has done very badly. Government has done in many sectors excellent. If you talk about the education sector, government has given a tremendous subsidy.
That's wonderful.
Even if you talk about the agriculture, government has done excellent. Eliminating the terrorist in Bangladesh, government has been 100% successful.
Yeah.
Equally, the government has very, very unsuccessful. It's related to the health. Yes, and COVID has come to show us that nakedly how ignorant we were, and
how unprepared we were. How unprepared we were to handle such a disaster. We have a department of government, I think, for management, disaster management. I think they have an office. I've seen the board somewhere in Dhaka, in the posh Dhanmandi area, a building saying Disaster and Management Center or something. See, there should be a flood control system. There should be a flood control office, and I'm sure that there are flood control centers, and there are shelters, you see, but they all failed in the last few months, in the last few days. They all failed. Alhamdulillah, thank God that the water is receding, but it will come. It will happen with the spread of diseases, not COVID, but ordinary diseases like mosquito bites.
Other diseases we fight back very well, but this COVID is something we are yet to know. But what I will come back to again here, the whole thought process on the health sector and the government sector has to, a revolutionary change has to come, and I hope our Honorable Prime Minister will look into this matter. I believe she knows everything. She is one of the visionary leader, and I believe the last thing she would not want that what she saw at this time. I'm sure they would come up with something.
No, she's hats off to her. She is doing a wonderful job with whatever resources she has. She is doing a wonderful job. My compliments to her. But I think
Absolutely.
It is down the line somewhere things go wrong, and then away from the country there is a small print like false COVID certificates. You see, they damage the reputation of the country.
let me tell it here. First of all, let me tell it like today, the Bangladesh, the garments industries, even today, this last month, I mean, as I said, when you go back the success, this is the first time government has given us about 500 or 600 million dollar subsidized loan to us, but the loan didn't come to us. The loan given by the central bank to our bank sent it to the workers directly. It's because we did so much of digitalization, and in hats off to our Prime Minister and her son took the initiative in making the digital Bangladesh. So, even the workers sitting at their home, they're getting their money in their telephone. I mean, in bKash, or we have many other systems. And it worked 100% accurately without any corruption.
That's very good. That's very good.
If the same country, why they should fail in other sectors? Why the same country should fail in health sector, where she is giving so much of money? Okay, it's people's money, but the allocation is there. It's not a small allocation. It should have been, the allocation would be much better. But whatever the allocation, if you're not using it properly, as you said, the fake certificate. Could you imagine? It's not that this is not happening around the world. It is also happening in India. But the problem is that people look into Bangladesh with a much more microscopic way than any other country. Let me give you one small information. Today, when we are watched by the Accord Alliance and the whole world, how we garments manufacturers are behaving, including they're looking into our factories. But the same thing is not happening with India, Pakistan, Myanmar. It's about 15 years back, we abolished the child labor. And in Bangladesh, in our sector, we completely abolished it. Today's newspaper, it came in a big way. India is still using on their garment sector the child labor. When you use the child labor, their cost production and our cost production will not be the same. First of all, they are not been watched by the third party, and we are being always watched by the third party. And also, to tell you the very truth and very frankly, our media was not very friendly not very sympathetic to us. They only look into that maybe we are only making profit. They don't look into the difficulties we go through. Also, I give you one classical example. When the Rana Plaza broke down in the year of 13, our television
when it was broken down by shaking the gates, the grills of the gates.
Absolutely, but this was telecast by the media 4 days continuously. Nowhere in the world it can happen. What happened to your Grenfell Tower in London in June 2017? Do you think it was a justified case in a civilized country, in a civilized world, where they did not have even proper warning system? And I believe more than 70 people died.
Yes.
And
72.
That can happen. But what I wanted to tell you, yes, that is an accident.
Well,
but you did not telecast it for 24 hours. Our Rana Plaza was telecast by our media, and they didn't even realize how much damage they did to Bangladesh. Because you can criticize me, but at the end, that criticism goes to Bangladesh. Like some few people make the fake certificate, and if you look into the injustice done, the Qatar Airways is the one who took, irrespective of Italy, banned Bangladeshis for 7 days. Qatar Airways took this passenger back to Italy. Italy didn't allow them to land. Italy should have allowed them to land Qatar, and Qatar Airlines should have been punished. But what happened? All their blame came to Bangladesh, and they said it's due to the fake certificates. So these are the trap we sometimes create for ourselves. Due to the mistake of few people, the entire country gets a very different picture in the world.
See, but
and if you look, if you look into
when a worker leaves his country to go and work in another country, before he leaves his own country, it is the responsibility of the authorities to check if he is carrying the right papers.
I agree with you, but you have to also know the whole. I mean, I'm just
Okay,
letting you know
sir.
the whole procedure.
Okay, sir. We need to take a break for Maghrib Azan
Oh,
here, and then after the prayers, we'll be back with you. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. We will need to take this short break of Maghrib Adhan, and then we'll be back with you to continue the discussion. Thank you. Welcome back. Just before the break, we were talking to our guest, Mr. Enayat Muhammad Kaiser Khan from Dhaka. He's an entrepreneur, a businessman, an industrialist, and adding to his cap, he's also a former professor of agriculture. Mr. Enayat, the impact of pandemic on our lives and business, apart from some minor major hiccups, as I said before, Bangladesh has done very well. This minor and major is nothing to do with anything else. We have done very well. The BD economy is doing well. You as an entrepreneur, you have done very well for yourselves. Now, how do you see RMG industry 5 years from today, 10 years from today? Is it going to survive? Can we retain the tempo of the production? I know that your order books are not as full as they were last year. The big buying houses are not making orders, placing orders like they did before. High street shops here are closing in Europe and America. See. So the demand for clothes is not as much as it was before. See, but then can we go into other industries like food, because the demand for food will never lessen. See, I can use a shirt or cup or pair of trousers for more than 6 months. See, but I need food on my table every day. So how do you see the future of RMG in Bangladesh?
well, it's very difficult to make a prediction, but the future doesn't look that much bright. What we saw, what we dreamt even last year, it's completely different scenario altogether. As you say, like you could live on one pair of jeans for even the whole year, but you need your food every day. You see, look at this. I mean, all the big retailer who have been in the business for 100 years, like Debenhams, is a beautiful store. And whenever I used to be in London,
Yep.
I would love to visit. I would love to buy something from Debenhams. Debenhams on 23rd of April, they surrendered. They surrendered means they gone for insolvency. They put up a administrator, and the end result for us directly, $5 billion worth of our goods were in the port. They offered us 10 cents for every pound, means they wanted to give us 10% of the value.
Right.
At the end, they paid us 75% and released the goods. And few months back, there were we delivered them goods of $20 million, which has not been paid, and that was not even taken into their accounts. Now they're taking into their accounts that the administrators informed us we are unsecured creditors, means our goods has no value. If everything is paid back, if anything is left over, then we'll get back some money out of it. Could you believe? This is $20 million, where we have already given the goods to them.
Mm-hmm.
And very surprisingly, the goods are also in their store. They are also selling it by online. And they had another $40 million order with us. We have 42 factories. In our factory is one of them. And that's why I know this case personally. And the $40 million order, where we already imported $20 million worth of goods, we were half made or full, some of them full made and some of them not been made. They will never take the liabilities of the $40 million. I don't expect them, but I didn't expect them not to pay the $20 million. But now they said, okay, we are making all the papers, so they will take into account, but we don't know when we'll be getting the money. And when they said unsecured creditors, and if they really go into bankruptcy, we don't know when we'll get part of the money. So
Right.
this will only put us into just a simple calculation. We have 42 factories are involved with governance in Bangladesh. At least 20% factory will be closed for good. There's no way they can stand on their feet and fight back. As I said, we are very resilient, really very strong-minded people. We fight back, but there is also a limit to the fight back, because if we do not get paid back of our goods what we sell, it will be
Right.
impossible for us to run the business in the future.
Have you given it a thought that you can manufacture the goods because you have the experience and you can sell it online rather than giving it to others? You can do the business yourself.
Of course, people are thinking in a very different way, but it's a massive production, and I'm very sure people will be coming up with those ideas. But it has to be stored somewhere. The technology has to be more and more evolved. That is why I say the Bangladeshi will fight back, because I believe the younger people will come and join, because the new avenues will open. So closing down garments industry doesn't mean closing down is closing down for Bangladesh.
Right.
Part of the business will definitely be part of the many people will be hurt. Part of the business will be hurt, but I'm very sure new areas will come up,
Sure.
and the people of
I'm
Bangladesh
sure.
will definitely,
I'm
inshallah,
sure.
fight back.
I'm sure. Just from my education, see, what I mean, when in the good old days, when the manufacturing garments was a very paying business, you see, what was the ratio of your profit? See, having paid the workers, having paid for the expenses, and having paid the bank for the interest of the loan, what was the ratio of your profit?
Okay, first of all, let's put it this way. Whenever you get an order for $100, we input $75. Means our return is only on 25%. If this 25%, we have to pay everything and then make profit. So the profit would have been 5 to 7%. And a good time, maybe we made 10%. Some manufacturer who did very well. But then how the garments, some of the garment manufacturers turned out to be so rich. It is because they diversified. They put up their money in the right places, and they've been very fortunate. And some of the money was not only from the manufacturing alone. When there's a quota system, those who used to hold the big quota, because there's a time there's a quota system, that factory with the quota premium made more money than making the garments. Like if they made the garments and it made $5, the quota premium he might have got $15 per dozen. So there are many fortunate factories who made good money out of it, and they invested in a very right places, and they have turned out to be very successful. But today, if you look into the profitability, 5% is the maximum you can expect, and you can't go beyond that. It's almost impossible. I say you are already importing goods, your return is only 25%. And in last 5 years, the price of the product has every year gone down. And also our salary, every year we are bound to increase the salary at least by 5 to 7%, 5%. So the profitability is going away. It's sometimes somebody thinks, why are you still in this business? It's not easy to get out of from the business, because this is an organized industry. It's not like a shop that you come and close it, you take a beating.
Right.
You have to clean up everything. You have to clean up your customs liabilities. You have to clean up the worker liabilities. You have to
Very
clean up.
briefly, can you sum up very briefly the lessons that businessmen have learned from this coronavirus and this pandemic, what it has given, what has it taught us? We were not prepared
Well,
for something.
that's $1 million question. That's $1 million question. Even I'm also we in a big thought process, not from the perspective of business, as the perspective of the life.
Yes.
I think we got to slow down. We got to slow down. We can't go the way we used to go. Like in my own life, 5 to 10 times going abroad. And of course, it was not business. It was also my trip to go and see my daughters and relatives, go and see the new. But I believe the world will slow down, at least for coming 5 years. The whole thing will change.
Okay.
Everybody will take a pause,
Okay, sir.
and will think back.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. We have to slow down and get into the lower gears. and say goodbye to you. Goodbye, Dhaka. And until we
Thank
meet
you.
again, have a profitable
Hopefully.
time.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you, viewers, for being with us. We hope that you have enjoyed the show as much as we have. And there we are, ready-made
Okay.
garments
Thanks.
and the business that we have built so far. Survival. Thank you very much.